So over a few years now, here's some examples. I've been building some amazing theme parks inside of Theme Park Tycoon 2. However, today I'm going to try something different and try to build an amazing theme park inside of Planet Coaster 2. Am I going to be able to do it? I'm not sure. I guess you have to continue watching this series to find out. So without further ado, welcome to my first series inside of Planet Coaster 2 called Around the World Adventures. Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of building a theme park inside of Planet Coaster. I started this game about a week ago now, so I'm not 100% sure of how well I'll do, but I guess we'll find out. In Planet Coaster, I kinda already started building the parking lot to this park, but in today's episode, we'll be starting on the entrance, so let's get into it. The first thing that we need for this entrance is the path that leads up to the entrance. By using the path tool, which I'm still learning how to use since this is my first time playing this game. Now, for the path, I'm still learning how to use this game, so bear with me here as I figure out how to do this. Actually, we probably want the line builder here. From here, I think what I'll do is kind of have a straight path going to the center, maybe around here. And I think eventually I do want to have like stores and stuff on either side, which probably be like the visitor center or visitor help center here and the store on this side, or vice versa. But I guess we'll figure that out the more we get to building this park. Now, back to the path. I think what I do want to do is first use the draw tool and draw more of like a curved path like this here. Yeah, something like that will look good. Same thing on the other side over here. But let me quickly do that and I'll get back to you. Finally, that took forever. I'm now going to build the building outline to the first building, but I decided also to do that off screen. Okay, with a general shape down, let's see if I can get some windows and other details to put on this building. Starting with the first floor, I found these cool archways that I could use. Hold on, let me first find them. I believe they were in mythology theme, which is right here. Okay, here's the arch. Whoa, yeah, that building is definitely way out of scale. Let me go and fix that and I'll be right back. Now, with this building not looking like it can fit some sort of 60-foot creature, shall we get into the first floor? As I was mentioning earlier, I was gonna use these arch entrances for the building to be used on the first floor. So let's go and start placing these down. Yeah, I had some trouble rotating these arch entrances, so as you can see there, I have my experiment on the path there. Well, with that kind of interruption, let's go and place these archways down because I finally was able to rotate them how I wanted it. So, what I found out basically is the way you want to rotate grid pieces is you have to have some sort of non-grid piece connected to the grid piece itself to be able to rotate or move it. So that's what I did here by making like this makeshift wall over the archway. As you can see here, it's kind of sticking up over the ceiling of this building. Anyway, with that little annoyance, we should get into the fine details of this building, which I started by placing these pillars down, as you can see here. Now, one thing about the pillars is I was almost able to place it down correctly, which I spaced it out every two like arch entrances, but the building was too small, so I had to kind of extend it a little bit, which was kind of annoying because I thought it would look better if it was that size. But I guess we'll continue building and see how this looks in the end. The next thing I'm trying to look for is the windows that I found earlier on as I was kind of scrolling through the mythology theme off screen. The windows that I found are these windows, and I thought they looked kind of nice for this building. Obviously, I'm not making my own windows yet. That'll be later on, hopefully, the more and more I get experience in the game. I'm still new to this game, so please just don't roast me in the comments. For the windows, I was kind of debating on what I should do. Eventually, I did end up deciding to put one window over every archway, which turned out quite nice in the end, to be honest. Also, at this point in the video, you may notice that I'm kind of narrating parts of the video, and some of it's more of a live footage of like what I was saying and my thoughts while I was building the building. Yeah, I just want to mention my mic was like too far away from me, so the voice when I was editing the video was so quiet and you can barely hear what I was saying. So I kind of had to go and rework all the audio, which is quite annoying to be honest. And yeah, I'm not having a fun time. I hope you enjoy this episode, and in the future I'm gonna try to improve on this. I know what was wrong, and hopefully in the future this shouldn't happen again. I'm sorry guys. But, what was I doing in this portion of the video? Oh, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was placing some balcony windows around the windows of the building. So as you can see here, I decided to use this balcony from the was it mythology? I don't remember where it's from. I'll have to go back and look for that. But anyway, what I was placing down is these types of balconies around the windows. And as you can see, I decided to place it around every window. And eventually I did decide to delete all the windows and kind of just fix this balcony or this section and place the balconies around these windows and just copy it over. Like, you know, each window had a balcony and it was more even because originally when I placed the windows, they were kind of uneven and it was all over the place. So I kind of had to go back and rebuild it again. At this point, I kind of not 100% sure of what I was thinking at the time or what I was doing because I kind of build these things after I come back from a long day of college. It's kind of more my like rest thing that I do from college. But anyway, here I decided to place some windows down on the second floor, which are kind of more of these tower-based floors that I decided to build. It's kind of like two rectangles on the building, to be honest. With that, I did place windows, kind of like generic windows on the second floor, kind of like this weird tower. You know, like I said before, tower, square, rectangle. I'm not sure how to call it, to be honest. I built this so long ago that I forgot what I was doing. As you can see, I did place some of the windows, and apparently I started painting it white. I think my thought process was if I painted it white, the windows white, I'll be able to get like a better understanding of what this building would look like in the end, color-wise. But, you know, that didn't really help much, to be honest. Well, let's continue building and me trying to explain what I'm building for this building. I hope I'm doing a good job, but I'm not sure if I am. Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of just trying to crop everything together as much as possible and try to figure out what I'm doing in this video. Again, I did this so long ago, so half of the time, I'm not even sure what I was thinking at the time. But anyway, in this portion of the video, what I think I was doing was placing some balconies over this roof. I mean, originally my thought process, if I remember correctly, was I wanted to use some sort of dome, do some sort of dome roof, but the grid piece that was more or less a domed roof was in the aquatic themed area, but I think it was called the buoy or something. It just wouldn't get bigger because it's a grid piece, so I had to go and modify something else, and I decided to put window balconies as like decoration at the top of the roof, which I'm not sure. I think maybe, I'm not sure. At this point, I might go and change this later on. But I guess you have to continue watching to figure if I do that or not. Now, eventually I did place these windows down, which looks more like a door. And from here, the narration won't stop. I'm going to go into a time lapse to kind of finish this building and the rest of the layout. So I guess let's get into that. Well, actually, I kind of lied. First, let me explain what I did do with this building because I did decide to build the rest off screen. What I did was build a store, which was kind of my experimentation of how to actually build a store in this game because like I said, I'm new to this game, so I'm still trying to figure everything out. But as you can see here, I did place a store in this building and kind of finish the rest of the details around the building itself. So from here, let's go and get into the time lapse. On the rest of the layout, as you can see here, I also built off screen. Now at this point, I'm probably already in the time lapse. As you can see here, I did finish the windows on the second building for the second floor, as well as off screen, I did build like the floor and the interior to the restaurant, which I forgot to mention. This second building that I'm building here will be a restaurant that I'll be placing at my entrance. And when I mean interior, I mean just placing the floor down. As you can see here, I did place some of the tables down, which I had trouble rotating because again, it's a grid piece, so you have to have some sort of item connected to it. Or is actually what I first thought. I did find out later on that you can move the grid pieces. It's just a little bit finicky to do it. The next thing that I did place down are these curtains, and I placed so many, and eventually I did actually ended up deleting most of it and just leaving 3 curtains, as well as kind of looking through the mythology themed area to see if I can place something else to kind of make this restaurant a little bit like look more interesting. But eventually I did decide to just leave it as is and just move on to the next building that I built. At this point, I'm probably falling a little bit behind of what you see in the video, but what I decide to do actually next is kind of give the windows as well as like the pillars to the other arch, not archways, the other towers around this entrance area. As you can see, I did build that off screen on the first tower that I did copy over to the opposite side, as you can see here. And then moving on to the hotel, which is on the second floor of the visitor help center, as you see here. With that, I kind of decided to build this treasure room, which as you can see here, I decided to add like these pipes from the aquatic scenery pack, which comes to show that you can use any game element in this game, and it doesn't have to be like really have to yeah, I guess I can't really speak today. It doesn't really have to be part of what you're trying to go for. It could be a pipe, but it represents gold in this game, if you know what I'm saying. It doesn't have, you can use any game element or piece to build what you want, and it doesn't have to be what it's meant for, basically. I mean, with that confusing, jumbled up sentence, let's move on to continue building the treasure room area. What I decided to do next is kind of look through the mythology theme to see if I can find some things that could represent treasure. And I kind of found these statue legs, which is kind of sad. You can't really shrink them down really small, basically. But I did decide to place these in. As you can see here, it's kind of sticking out of the gold pile. It is kind of sad you can't really shrink these down. If this was like the other game that I play, which is Theme Park Tycoon 2, you could actually shrink these down a lot more, or actually build your own and then shrink them down. That, which I'm gonna say you can't really find this in Theme Park Tycoon 2, so who's to really complain? What I did find next are these like shields, so I did place some of these down and recolored them to kind of give it more of a golden texture. As you can see there, I did paint them like a yellowish color. I also found these like pots and other like little knickknacks out of the mythology scenery pack and kind of just placed it around. I also found this really cool decoration that I put on the wall in the back of the treasure room and surrounded it by rocks. Then I used some, I believe these are roof trims, and used it as kind of like torch handles. The next thing that I tried to look for is the flame to actually put on the handles that will make the torch, but I couldn't find this, so I moved on to the pathway, which was a lot of work that needed to be done with the pathway. And when I first built this, because I'm new to this game, like I said multiple times in this video, I was having some troubles and issues, which really mean the same thing. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I had some issues with the people phasing through the walls because the pathways were going under the game element, so I had to kind of rework the pathway here. But hopefully one day I'll be able to find some workaround around this, so I don't have to rework it each and every single time I build something. Eventually I did find the flames that actually look good for a torch, and I did place that down once I found it. I also found this really cool door when I was like scrolling through the mythology pack, and I placed it in front of the treasure room because I thought that gave it a cool show element as you like entered the entrance to the park. As I found the door to put in front of the treasure room, I also found these cool golden gates that I used for the entrance into my park. The next thing that I decided to do was to try to put a roof on top of the entrance area, but originally I tried to use the slanted roofs, but this was kind of weird on the opposite side, so I deleted it and used the flat roofs instead. Here I also decided to add like a second floor over the golden gate entrance and fix the roof a little bit because it was definitely not looking too well, and eventually I was able to get it done. While I'm doing this, I also want to mention my goal for this entrance. So my main goal for this entrance is to kind of make it look like downtown Disney or City Walk, where there's all the stores and shops in the front before you actually enter into the actual theme park itself. In short, this is like the shopping plaza in the front of the park before you actually enter into the theme park. Now, with that, I'm finishing all the little details on this entrance, with the roof on the opposite end, as well as finishing the rest of the roofing for the entrance of this building. I also decided to put this decoration piece over the treasure room, and eventually this will be where the entrance sign or the sign to my park will go. So, I still don't have that built now. Hopefully, I'll get it built in the next episode. So I guess you have to come back to that to see it. With that, let's finish the roof on the second floor, and then we'll move on to like the rest of the little details that we need to place on this entrance area. The next thing I did put is put the arches around inside or underneath where the entrance is to my park, as well as fixing the path. Like I basically rebuilt the whole thing because it wasn't working well for me. And then eventually I did get to the point where I was actually satisfied. I also placed the spot right down, and let's cut to the point where I'm actually explaining what I did in this time lapse in a better form or better detail. So I hope you enjoyed that time lapse. What I'll be doing now is basically going over what I built in that time lapse itself. But before we do that, let me explain what I built in the first building that I built in the beginning of the episode. As you can see here, I built this building, and inside of this building I placed a store, which was kind of the first building I built in this game basically for this series. And I thought it looked cool with the mythology theme. So, yeah, here's a better look at it. You can see, yeah, it has all the generic windows. I didn't really have the courage to build my own windows yet, which hopefully in one of the next episodes I'll be able to do that. And it'll, as I continue building onto this series, the buildings and the theming will get better and better. Not to say I do like the buildings, and it's kind of good for my first build inside of Planet Coaster 2, in my opinion. But I guess you have to let me know down in the comments what you feel about it. Anyway, I do actually enjoy this mythology theming a lot. And originally, I was actually planning on doing some sort of Mediterranean theming. And I'm glad I actually changed my mind and did this mythology theming instead. Anyway, let's move on to the second building that I built, which is the restaurant to this park. Also, real quick, here's a quick look at what my store actually looks like in the first building. Wait a sec, is this store actually closed? Oh, never mind. I guess this person or NPC is actually on break in this game. I'm still learning the game mechanics, so you kind of have to bear with me a little bit. But anyway, I know I said we're gonna go check out the restaurant next, but real quick, here's what the hotel looks like. I just placed some, doors and windows on the second floor, and kind of like a floor to make it look like there's like a floor on the second floor, which you can't really see from the path anyway, but you just know it's there because it's in this video. But yeah, on this building I also put the guest services here, as you can see here. And then we can move on to finally, like I said, the final building, or basically the second building that I built, which is the restaurant. No, not this restaurant. This is something I built off screen, which is just basically a small little like restaurant that I put in the corner of the park. This is nothing too special. Anyway, that was just really more of a filler for that tower because it was just empty. We'll move on to the actual restaurant, which is in the second building that I built in the entrance area. As you can see here, while the people are facing to the tables, which will probably be changed later, I want to do some sort of extension or something to this building, but I guess you have to wait and see what that is. So actually off screen, I did forget to mention I did build more to the hotel, as well as like the back staging area to where the workers go to rest. For the hotel itself, I'll probably also place like more detail and door to the hold on, let me just find it real quick, to the opposite end over here, to where people can like enter the door which leads you into the park, which a lot of theme parks nowadays actually have. Like the new park at Epic Universe has the hotel directly in the park where you can just walk into the park itself from the hotel. Off screen, I also put this teacup ride down here, which I'll probably theme in the next episode, but I guess you have to wait and see what I do to this ride. So, once again, I know I said it a lot. Come back to the next episode to see it. You do not want to miss it. But I'm afraid that is really all I have time for this episode, or else this episode will be way too long otherwise. Actually, hold on a sec. That's kind of distracting me a little bit. The fact that I forgot to fill up this wall over here. Let me go and fix that, and I'll get back to you once I do. Sorry about that. I kind of had to go and fix that because it was kind of distracting that there's a wall that I missed there. But anyway, with that, this is basically the end of the episode, and I hope you enjoy this episode of building a theme park inside of Planet Coaster 2. In the next episode, I'll basically be finishing the entrance to my park, which as you can see here, there's a lot of empty space. I'll also be revealing my first themed land inside of my park, so look forward for that as well. But I guess that is all I have to say, so I hope you enjoy this episode of building a theme park inside of Planet Coaster 2, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.